So good morning, guys. Once again, let us continue the further topics with respect to human resource analytics. So today we're going to talk about what is structured, unstructured, and semi-structured data. So today I'm going to cover three topics: structured, unstructured, and semi-structured data. And this is actually what is meant by structured data. So now, as the name suggests, the data. So data, as you very well know, it is actually the information which consists of fact, figures, numbers, images, and even audio, video, data which is coming from IoT. So all today it is called data. Now, what do you mean by structured data? As the name itself is very clearly defined. So it has been actually arranged in a predefined format before actually it is getting stored. So this is also called schema on write technically, and this is how it becomes very useful for effective analysis, because there are various tools, and this format is very much required for the tools to use them. And once they are organized, that is also called a data repository. It is also called, it is formatted, and it is actually put it in a database. For example, SQL database is a very simple example where a format of a structured data, where you have data which is actually put in terms of rows and columns. And once you can relate this data with respect to rows and columns, then it becomes a relational data, where you are able to relate one data in a particular row with the one data in another row or column. So then it is called a relational data, and the database is also called a relational database management system. The system is called RDBMS, where the data are all related, which is obviously the natural outcome for any database which is going to get stored. Third is the structured data. Now, continuing with the structured data is next. Continuing with the structured data is, now what are the advantages of a structured data is, one is actually it is easily used by the machine learning algorithms because it is in a very clear structured format, and also it can be easily understood and used by the business users. And a lot of tools are built around processing of structured data. Now, what are some of the disadvantages is actually the storage options are limited with respect to structured data, because a lot of tools which are using structured data, the memory usages are actually very limited, memory operations are given, and predefined purpose limits. Now, once you have a structured data, then the usage is the structured data is very clearly defined, and there is a boundary where we can use the structured data, beyond which you cannot be put to use the structured data. Now, the next type of data is called unstructured data. Now, as the name really clearly indicates that the data is not stored in any particular format. Now, technically, it's also called schema on road. Now, as the name suggests, it is not organized in any particular predefined manner, and there's no particular predefined data model. So, for example, and then this particular data model cannot be used in a relational database, because relational database, the requirement is very clearly structured data where you can relate the data. So it cannot be used in a relational database. For example, these are some of the examples of unstructured data, where email, social media posts, and presentations, chats on various social media chats, the sensor data which is coming from various IoT devices, and satellite imagery. So today, 80% of the data which is coming in is actually as unstructured data, and that is really going up. And the data generated is very massive amount of data. So today the focus is on unstructured data. Now the third, continuing with the unstructured data, is what are the advantages is actually you can choose a format which you want, and the data storage is very high here, and the data is also getting accumulated very fast. And disadvantages, it requires specialized tools for actually processing this data, and also in terms of expertise in on the manpower side, we require data science experts. So an ordinary person without these skills cannot work on the unstructured data. Now, coming back and continuing with the third one, we have something called the semi-structured data. So it is somewhere intermediary between a structured data and unstructured data. Now, it does not actually quite really, if you talk about a relational database, it is exactly not there. But there are some structure which is already given to the data, so that it falls under category of semi-structured. So, but in this particular semi-structured data, there is a concept called metadata, where you can actually identify some of the crucial characteristics of the data. but it doesn't mean that the data is clearly can be related to a particular row or a column. For example, in RDB, there is a metadata identifier. Now, the metadata identifier is actually good enough to ensure that the data is actually efficiently cataloged, and you can actually search that particular data and analyze the data way more strictly than compared to unstructured data. And we can store this. We can actually further process the semi-structured data and put it in a semi-structure, put it in a proper relation database. But it is a little bit quite cumbersome and complex for to do this. Example, XML data is an example of a semi-structured data. And this is one more slide which talks about the difference between structured data and unstructured data. Now, as it is clearly stored in terms of structured data, it can be displayed in rows and columns and relational databases. It cannot be displayed in terms of unstructured data. And the numbers, data, and strings are an example. Images, audio, video, word processing files, emails, and spreadsheets are an example of unstructured data. Now, as I said, 20% of the data is only structured and 80% are unstructured data. And the storage requirement is very less. There is more storage, easy to manage with simple tools, and you need very clear high-end legacy tools for managing it and protecting the unstructured data. And this is again continuation of the differences and the various characteristics of structured and unstructured data. And characteristics is it's a predefined data models can be usually used, easy to search. It is primarily text based and shows what is happening. Unstructured data, there is no predefined data model, difficult to search. So, for example, your PDF images and video, but it shows a Y. And semi-structured data, it is very meta level structured data that contains unstructured HTML data, XML, JSON, as all. And it resides in a relation database and data warehouses. Unstructured resides in application data warehouses and lakes stored in various forms. And semi-structured data resides in an RDB tagged text format stored in abstracts and figures. Examples of structured data: dates, phone numbers, social security numbers, customer names, and transaction information. Unstructured data: the documents, emails, and messages, conversation transcripts, image files, open-ended survey answers are unstructured data. Semi-structured data is the server logs, tweets organized by hashtags, email sorting by folders, inbox. So whatever the mails which you're sending, draft of the emails, all come under semi-structured data. And these are some more data with respect to what are the difference between structured, semi-structured, and unstructured data. Now, with respect to scalability, the structured data is very difficult, whereas semi-structured scaling is very simple, and unstructured the data is very much scalable. And with respect to the technology, it is based on relational database. Semi-structured is based on XML. Unstructured data, it is based on character and binary data. And query performance: structured query allowing complex joining, it is allowed in structured data. Semi-structured data, queries over anonymous nodes are possible. Only textual queries are possible. So these are some of the advantages and some of the difference between structured, semi-structured, and unstructured data. So hope you have we understood a very clear overview about what is the structured data, what is an unstructured data, and what is a semi-structured data, and what are the differences between the same. If any queries, you can actually ask me. Thank you very much.